In my past life, my sister swapped her son with mine. Unexpectedly, 25 years later, my son became a street thug, while her son soared to success, becoming a CEO at a young age. He bought me a villa and took me on a world tour. She ran to the company with a paternity test, causing a scene. But the security guard kicked her out. Mr. Valiant, the CEO, Elia Masai, said that even if you're his biological mother, you didn't raise him, so he doesn't recognize you. In her breakdown, she drove and hit me, killing us both. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day when the children were swapped. This time, my sister held her son tightly, laughing wildly and arrogantly. From now on, you'll be the mother of a thug, and all the villas and endless money are mine. When she said this, probably out of sheer joy, my sister's voice was loud. The room full of people froze in shock. My husband, standing beside me, was seething. What kind of thug are you cursing about? Who are you talking about? I, on the other hand, stared blankly at the soft, fragile child in my arms. I had been reborn. Back to the day my sister swapped the children. In my past life, my sister, coveting the millions in assets my husband and I had, secretly swapped our sons. Her plan was simple. My husband and I were high earners. Our family far better off than hers. She and I had never gotten along. So after swapping the children, not only would she get me to raise her child for free, but she could also take out her frustrations by abusing mine. Once her son inherited our wealth, she would bring the paternity test to him, and they'd reunite as a perfect family, enjoying their bliss. But reality, unfortunately, heading fulfilledly, was far from her dreams. 25 years later, her son had indeed achieved great success, becoming a CEO worth billions. My husband and I moved into a grand villa and traveled the world with the money he gave us. Yet, my son had been raised into a street thug, with almost no contact with her. My sister couldn't let it go, so she proudly took the paternity test to Xander, hoping to establish a connection, only to be thrown out by the company's security. Xander refused to acknowledge her as his mother, even using harsh words against her. In her despair, she drove her husband's bus into my car, killing us both. Unexpectedly, I was reborn. Seeing my sister holding her child and gloating, I immediately realized she was reborn as well. My sister wasn't afraid at all when my husband said this. She had always been favored by our parents, and with her husband spoiling her, she had grown up with a spoiled attitude. Maybe it was the rebirth or the child that gave her confidence. But she scoffed. Your genes are weak, so you end up with a thug of a son. Don't even talk about it. My child will be different. He will inherit great wealth and become a big boss. Celine, we are sisters. I advise you to have another child while you're still young. Otherwise, that thug will end up on top, and you two will get beaten up without anyone caring. Listening to her mocking words, my nails dug into my palms. If it weren't for her constant beating and scolding of River, forcing him to drop out of school and work during his middle school years, how could he have ended up as a street thug, refusing to return home? The day I was killed by Narcissa's bus was also the day I found out the truth about the child swap. After raising River for 25 years, I was told he wasn't even mine. My mind was a tangled mess, and I wanted to confront Narcissa, ask the hospital head, and question Xander. But what I wanted the most at that moment was to find River, my real child, the one she had abused all these years. But before I could even see him, I was run over by Narcissa's bus. Hearing her sarcasm, my husband rolled up his sleeves and was about to hit her. Our parents, standing by, rushed to stop him. Kane, my brother-in-law, was also unhappy. He snorted. Narcissa was just joking. Is there a need to react so strongly? Having relatives like you, I'm embarrassed. Before he could finish, my husband, known for his short temper, landed a punch on his face. Just as he was about to throw another punch, I grabbed his arm. Let it go, Valiant. In this new life, I only wanted to make up for the suffering of my poor child. As for Narcissa, I would find a way to deal with her. But there was no rush. That night, we arranged for a transfer to another hospital. While packing in the ward, I heard whispers from the next curtain. My sister was trying to keep her voice down, but her joy was undeniable. I've been reborn. Ours Ander will be a big boss. At first, the others didn't believe her, but Narcissa described it so vividly that their eyes began to redden. After all, who wouldn't be tempted by the thought of living in a grand villa? Achieving financial freedom? My parents took turns hugging Xander. No, now Xander. Calling him their good grandson affectionately. Kane slapped his thigh in excitement, grinning from ear to ear. He's my son. He'll be the best. But when it came to my side, Narcissa revealed a smug expression. Celine's son will end up as a thug. My father furrowed his brow. We'll keep our distance from them in the future. It'll be trouble if we get tangled up with them. My mother echoed him. Let's find a good school for Xander, so he doesn't get led astray by that one. I could hear every word clearly from behind the curtain. Did she really think that Xander's success was all his own doing? In my past life, I had suspected this all along. How did two grounded, hardworking people like Valiant and me end up with such a cold, selfish son like Xander? Not only did he refuse to recognize Narcissa as his biological mother, but if it weren't for me holding most of the company's shares, he probably wouldn't even give me the time of day, let alone offer a grand villa and world tours. But I was more than happy to keep my distance from them. Hearing more whispers from behind the curtain, I threw my instant noodle bowl inside without a second thought, ignoring their gasps. Then I turned and walked out of the ward. This was just my first gift to Narcissa. Narcissa never once considered that the problem might lie with her. Instead, she angrily scolded River as a hopeless case. A piece of mud that couldn't stick to the wall. During his teenage years, River became even more sullen and harsh, refusing to follow Narcissa's discipline, and started disappearing for days, coming home only when absolutely necessary. But if it weren't for the coldness of that home, where else would he have turned for warmth but to those gang members? I don't expect my son to rise to great heights in life. I only hope his childhood can be carefree and full of joy. In this life, with Valiant and me by his side, River no longer carries the bitterness from his past life. Looking at him now, he's no different from any other happy child. River's nature still bears some resemblance to his father's, quiet and aloof. Perhaps because I spent the most time with him, River might appear distant and unapproachable to others. But with me, he's very dependent. From time to time, he pulls at my sleeve, wanting me to accompany him outside to play, or clings to me, asking me to help him with his studies. This weekend, I took him shopping for clothes. Just like usual. But as he stood before the mirror, gazing at the clothes, he suddenly looked up and asked me, Mom, I don't know why, but I always feel like this life is too good to be true. Last night, I dreamt that you and Dad disappeared. A woman tied me to a chair and hit me. When I bit her, she slapped me. It was clearly just a dream. But for some reason, it felt so real, like I'd actually gone through it. He widened his round eyes, his face full of confusion. I patted his head and gently reassured him. Since it's a dream, it's all in the past. If you have nightmares again, come find Dad and me. Don't keep it all to yourself. Still with the simplicity of a child, River nodded and smiled again, holding the new clothes in his hand. But just as he went into the changing room to try on his clothes, I caught sight of someone from a distance. Between the clothes racks. It was Xander. In his past life, Xander had lived comfortably with my husband and me, enjoying a life of luxury. This life, following Narcissa's family, was far less affluent. But judging by his clothes, he wasn't neglected. He was holding Kane's hand. And the woman beside him wasn't my sister Narcissa. It was another, younger and more beautiful woman. They were chatting and laughing as they approached, looking like a happy family of three. Through a row of clothes, Xander's youthful voice clearly reached my ears. Sister, my dad is so handsome and gentle, and he really likes you. Would you come be my mom? I'll be really obedient from now on. The beautiful girl clearly found his words amusing and asked him in return. Then what about your mom? Xander hesitated for a moment, Then said, "My mom is ugly and fierce. And she makes me study every day. She's nothing like you." Cain was standing a few meters away, playing with his phone, seemingly unaware. Every now and then, he would glance up with a smile, indifferent to his son's insults toward his wife. Meanwhile, my sister was probably still at home, foolishly preparing dinner for these ungrateful men. I wasn't surprised in the least to see Xander like this, because in the last life, he did the same thing. Valiant opened a boxing club in the city, and hired a few young girls as secretaries. In that life, those young girls had coaxed and are into forgetting who he was in just a few words. Not only did he come home to hit and scold me, but he also humiliated me in public, saying I was old and ugly, that he wanted a beautiful sister to be his mom. This time, Xander had switched families, but his heartlessness remained the same. And Cain, evidently, didn't resist temptation and half-drily joined in. I turned my gaze away, but pulled out my phone and discreetly took a picture of Cain and the young girl, their intimacy captured clearly in the shot. Just as River came out of the fitting room, ready to take my hand and leave, a sharp scream cut through the air. "I'll kill you, you little mistress." Sister, disheveled and stumbling, suddenly appeared in my line of sight. It had been a long time since I'd last seen her, and she was no longer the refined, glamorous woman from the past. Instead, she looked 10 years older, tired and dowdy. I had long heard that my sister, in her determination to turn Xander into a big shot, had given up her work and devoted herself entirely to serving him. No wonder Cain and Xander were dressed head to toe in luxury brands, while she was walking around in a stained apron, with food marks still visible. It was a shame. She had such high hopes for her son, but he, in turn, hoped for a prettier mom. Seeing Cain intimately holding hands with the woman, my sister snapped. She rushed forward, not to confront the cheating man, but to pull the young girl's hair, hitting and tugging at her. "I'll kill you, you seductors." Xander, sensing the situation, quickly darted to the side and hid behind a row of clothes. The young girl, unable to dodge in time, had her face scratched by my sister, her hair disheveled. But she wasn't someone to be taken lightly. She seized the opportunity and slapped my sister several times, leaving her dazed and stumbling. The two of them grappled, drawing the attention of a crowd of onlookers. I stood by, quietly speculating who would come out on top in this battle. My sister, used to managing the household, had far more strength than the young girl. Sure enough, after a few rounds, my sister gained the upper hand, but just as it seemed the fight was hers, Cain, who had been silent until now, stepped forward, pushing my sister aside and shielding the girl behind him. "What's wrong with you? Teacher King just came to buy a few clothes for the kid. Look at what you've done." He swept a disdainful glance at my sister, his voice cold. "Look at you. Like a shrew. You go out like this and embarrass me. Narcissa, if you keep this up, don't blame me for divorcing you." Without another word, he turned his back and, without sparing my sister a glance, walked off with the young, beautiful teacher, leaving them all. Xander, seeing this, wanted to follow, but afraid of being seen by my sister, he stayed hidden behind the clothes, glaring at her with eyes full of resentment. My sister stood frozen for a long time, the expression she had been trying to maintain crumbling. In her despair, she spotted me. It was as if all the accumulated hatred had finally found an outlet. She suddenly raised her voice at me. "Celine, was this your doing?" Muttering to herself, she continued, "I was wondering how Cain could be seduced by that vixen. Turns out it was you behind it. You must have bad-mouthed me to Cain, stirring up trouble between us. You must have brought that vixen here too, didn't you? You just can't stand to see me happy." Even now, she was still in self-denial. I looked at her coldly, my words dripping with mockery. "Rather than suspecting me, you might want to care a little more about your precious son. After all, it was your precious son who introduced that good teacher to Cain." Upon hearing me mention Xander, Narcissa's emotions completely spiraled out of control. She ignored my advice entirely, and instead missed the point completely. I get it now. She spat. Are you jealous of my villa? Do you want to take my son back? I was left speechless. Too tired to argue. And turned to leave. But this simple action set my sister off even more. Celine. You think you can step all over me? Too? Not a chance. She screamed. Grabbing the nearby clothes rack and charging at me. Before I could even react, a faster figure darted in front of me and collided violently with my frenzied sister. River, though young, was already quite sturdy. My sister wasn't prepared, and the impact sent her sprawling to the side. River stood in front of me, using his not fully grown body to shield me. You're not allowed to bully my mom. His words made my sister's face flicker between confusion and disbelief. She stared at River for a long while, as if trying to recognize him, before incredulously asking, Impossible. Aren't you just a mad dog? You should be at odds with this one. How could you defend her? Of course. My sister was shocked, because in the previous life, River had been entirely different when it came to her. I smiled but said nothing, gently patting River on the head and advising him. Next time, don't rush out like that. Stay behind me, and I'll handle it myself. River pouted a little, clearly upset. But I don't want you to suffer. After a brief moment, my sister finally regained her composure. Her eyes were full of disdain. I don't know what kind of drug you've given him, making him so obedient to you. But even so, what does that change? He'll just be a useless thug in the future. You'll have to spend your old age alone, with nothing. She tried to stand, but the fall had hurt her foot. She stumbled several times but failed to rise. At that moment, Xander, who had been hiding in the corner, tried to sneak away. Narcissa caught sight of him immediately. Come here. Good son. I twisted my foot. Help me up. Xander hesitated but reluctantly walked over. However, when he reached her, he scrunched his face in disgust. Why did you come out like this? He looked at her with clear distaste. There are a few of my classmates by the mall entrance. I've been telling them that my mom is a company executive. If they see you like this, where do you think I'll put my face? Without waiting for a reply, Xander turned and ran off, completely ignoring her injury. Although it was satisfying to see, River was still downcast when we got home. She said I'll be a thug in the future, but I want to build something of my own. Otherwise, you'll be looked down upon by her. I don't want you to be mocked and bullied by her. Chapter 6. Valiant, pleased, patted River's shoulder. Talking's not enough. Tomorrow, I'll supervise you and double the study intensity. I gave Valiant a gentle slap on the back of his head. Don't put too much pressure on him. While I said that, I had no doubt in River's potential. His aptitude was high, and he was willing to work hard. With time, even if he couldn't become an outstanding individual, he wouldn't end up in a bad place. But I didn't want. That night, after finishing my skincare routine and preparing to rest, the doorbell rang loudly, almost crazily. As soon as I opened it, a figure rushed in and clung to my legs. Mom. Xander's eyes darted around quickly, and his expression was completely different from the one I had seen in the mall earlier. He looked eager to please. The sudden change in him made me frown, and I tried to pull him off me. Why are you calling me Mom? Narcissa is your mother. Xander, quick on his feet, immediately said, Mom, don't you remember? You told me, no matter what happens, I'm your baby, and I can always come to you when I need to, no matter what. Have you forgotten? I stood there, stunned. These words were something I had indeed said, but not in this life. This was from our past lives. I never expected that Xander had been reborn as well. Seeing my surprise, Xander's face lit up with satisfaction. Mom, hadn't so seld my say. When I regained my memories, I came to find you. I couldn't stay in that home any longer. It's much better here. He strutted past me, lounging lazily on the expensive sofa and picking up an Apple phone to play with. Mom, I've wanted a new phone for a long time. Can you buy me a new one? That place was so stingy. They wouldn't even get me a new phone. It's ridiculous. I stared at him, speechless. Was he still thinking he could get anything he wanted? Like the Xander from the past, River and Valiant came out in their pajamas and froze when they saw Xander sprawled across the sofa. What's going on? Before I could speak, Xander cut in. Dad. Don't you recognize me? I'm your son. Xander. Hearing this, River's face darkened with hostility. What are you talking about? This is my dad and mom. Not yours. Valiant, equally confused, asked, is this kid out of his mind? So, it seemed that after returning home today, Xander had also been reborn. Having lived in luxury all his life, there was no way he could endure Narcissa's impoverished, stingy lifestyle. The night he regained his memories, he snuck out of his home and found out where we lived, eventually showing up here. Valiant's temper flared, and without patience for Xander's jumbled explanation, he grabbed him up with one hand. Chapter 7. You little brat. I'm calling your grandmother right now. You're running around in the middle of the night. I'll break your legs. Xander struggled several times, shouting loudly. Mom. I know you're also reborn. Hurry up and explain things to Dad. I rolled my eyes and opened the door, signaling Valiant to just throw him out. You're not my son. So why should I care about you? Valiant slammed the door behind him, and Xander tried to lunge forward, but River punched him out. That night, it was said that Narcissa came to pick up Xander. She thought I was coveting her precious son and caused a scene outside my house all night. It's a pity that the sound insulation of this building is extremely good. That night, we didn't hear a single sound and had a wonderful sleep. In the following months, Xander often took advantage of Narcissa's absence to harass our family. At first, considering that we were mother and son in the previous life, I didn't make him look too bad and persuaded him to leave politely every time. But later, Xander went too far and even went directly to River's school to wait for me. I really couldn't stand him affecting River's life, so I asked the security guards to drive him away. Celine, you'll regret it. When being dragged away by the security guards, Xander no longer pretended to be obedient. His eyes were filled with the viciousness that only adults have. Even without your help, I can still start my own company. I could do it in my previous life, and I can do it in this life too. You look down on me now, but wait and see. I'll kill you. Xander now looks like a complete child. In front of so many people, I didn't bother to argue with him. But when I was about to go home, I couldn't pull the person in my hand. River looked in the direction where Xander was dragged away, his face full of anger. When he looked at me again, he said in an extremely serious tone, Mom, don't be afraid. If he fights with you, I'll fight with him. Listening to his serious words, I suddenly felt that raising a child to adulthood seems to be a happy thing. I patted his head, and my mood became pleased. Silly boy. You just call the police then. Your dad will handle the fighting. It's not your turn yet. 7. With 25 more years of memory than others, Xander repeatedly got full marks in exams during primary and junior high school, winning everyone's applause. My sister praised her son as a genius to everyone she met, and my parents were so happy that they couldn't close their mouths. Even Kane, who had already cheated, spoke highly of him. No wonder he's my son. He's like the god of literature descended to earth. His marriage with my sister was in name only, maintained entirely by Xander. Their only bond. My silly sister didn't know that her husband, whom she still cherished, had long had an illegitimate child outside. Chapter 8. It was only because of my sister's prediction that Xander would become a big boss in the future that he hadn't divorced her. After getting the top score several times, Xander became a little famous in the city. After being invited to the TV station for several interviews, Xander suddenly regained the sense of superiority he had in his previous life. He took his report card and wandered in front of me from time to time, trying to mock me for making such a wrong choice of abandoning him. Unfortunately, hadn't so filthy. Every time he came, he just happened to meet River, who was coming home from school. At that time, River, who was in junior high school, had entered a rebellious period. With the same temperament as his father in those days. While getting excellent grades, he formed cliques in school and was a school bully that everyone feared. He usually had a gloomy face, But it would light up a lot when he saw me and Valiant at home. It just so happened that Xander had nothing to do and ran into trouble, saving Valiant the trouble of taking him to the club for practice. After being beaten a few times, Xander finally behaved himself. Later, in high school, Xander began to struggle with his studies. He could handle primary and junior high school knowledge by relying on the fact that he had lived many more years than his peers. But when it came to high school knowledge, it was not enough. I clearly remembered that in my previous life, Xander failed the college entrance examination, and Valiant and I spent a lot of money to send him abroad to get a degree. Afraid of damaging his self-confidence, we lied to him that he got in by himself. Now he hadn't touched high school textbooks for so many years, and he had almost forgotten all the knowledge. Moreover, his grandparents doted on him extremely, not only allowing him to secretly play with his mobile phone in high school, but also buying him the latest video games as a reward. Xander's self-control was already poor, and with this, his grades plummeted. In just a few months, he dropped from the key class to the regular class. 8. On the day the college entrance examination results came out, Xander's score was even worse than in his previous life, while River, as the top scorer in the college entrance examination, was on the hot search. As River's mother, I was also put on the hot search because of a news about donating to a child abuse rescue organization. Yes. Since seeing River's tragic situation in my previous life, I could no longer stand by and do nothing about these children abused by their parents. Over the past few years, I had donated hundreds of thousands of yuan, helping hundreds of children escape from terrible original families. Although it's just a drop in the bucket, as long as I think that I can save one more child, I will always feel a lot of comfort. At my son's admission banquet, Valiant was so happy that he spent a lot of money to invite the whole family to dinner at a big hotel. My sister and parents were also among them. Originally, I didn't plan to invite them. Valiant and I had long planned to move to another city after River was admitted to college. Thinking that we might never see each other again in the future, it's okay to see them for the last time. Chapter 9. My parents also knew that they hadn't been incompetent grandparents over the years, so they were ashamed and just kept their heads down and picked at their food. The relatives on my in-laws' side praised River highly, but when their eyes turned to my sister, they were confused. "Celine, how come I didn't know you have an aunt?" I smiled and said, "Not an aunt. That's my sister." It's no wonder they mistook her. My sister had overworked in recent years, which had long exhausted all her energy, and she aged prematurely. Wrinkles covered her face. A large part of her hair was white, and the tiredness on her face couldn't be hidden even with thick cosmetics. Sitting next to my mother, if you didn't look carefully, you would think they were sisters. While they were chatting, I picked up a glass of wine and walked unsteadily to my sister. My sister had a face full of resentments and she came to the banquet with a long face, coupled with her rustic clothes. She looked like a bitter woman. Her eyes looking at me were almost on fire. You, a nobody, hey nobody, are worthy of being the mother of the top scorer? My son's luck has been taken away by your bastard son." She raised her hand to slap me, but her arm was easily caught. "Watch your mouth." River's tone was cold. Over the past few years, he was no longer the thin boy he used to be, but had grown into a 1.8-meter tall man. River easily restrained my struggling sister with one hand, pulled her to me, apologized to my mom. My sister was full of reluctance, but as her eyes rolled, she suddenly smiled. "Celine, don't think your son is great just because he got a few more points in the exam. Ours Ander is going to study abroad. It's abroad, much better than your son." Going abroad? I thought. Could the school Xander was going to be the same as in the previous life? The tuition and living expenses of that school add up to nearly $1 million a year. Narcisse's family couldn't afford it even if they sold their house. The banquet was about to start. I glanced at my sister, this lunatic, and directly splashed the wine in my hand on her face. "Since my nephew is so promising, I'll give him this glass of wine first." The parents next to me stood up in a hurry, but sat back obediently under Valiant's suppressive gaze. All her life, my sister had never suffered such grievances from me. She widened her eyes and forgot to resist for a moment. I wiped the wine splashed on my hand. I don't care what happens to you and your son in the future. But if you two dare to harass me and my family again, I'll make you pay. The security guards carried the screaming sister out. And I sighed. I hope Xander isn't so ungrateful as to empty the family's savings to bet on this future. Soon, whenever. As River started school, Valiant and I moved to a new city and began a new life. To make our later years more comfortable, we both agreed to buy a villa in the suburbs. After more than a decade of hard work, purchasing a villa wasn't a big financial burden for us. In the new city, without River around, Valiant and I had no more worries and could fully focus on developing our careers. 5 more years passed. During these 5 years, I was promoted to the highest position, reaching the peak of my career. Meanwhile, Valiant retired early and started his retirement life with a fishing rod. During this period, both he and I wanted to pave the way for River in advance, planning a shortcut for him. However, to our surprise, unlike Xander in the previous life, River, without our help, founded a studio with his outstanding classmates from university. He and his partners convinced investors from major companies with excellent designs and presentations, successfully securing financing without using a single cent that Valiant and I had prepared for him. Valiant and I were completely relieved. We lived a leisurely life in the big villa and planned to travel to France during the upcoming annual vacation. Before leaving, I went to a cleaning company to find a maid to clean the villa, but unexpectedly met Narcissa, whom I hadn't seen for years. It said that back then, Xander insisted on going abroad, naively thinking he could find a well-paid part-time job while studying overseas. But he lasted less than a year there and soon came back in a sorry state. In his previous life, he spent money freely abroad, and with the connections Valiant and I had arranged for him, he never had to worry about funds. But in this life, he was alone and helpless, couldn't find a satisfactory part-time job, and soon fell into financial straits. After failing to get a diploma abroad, Xander tried to start a business when he returned home. But when he actually started doing it, he collapsed. After all, in his previous life, Valiant and I had taken care of everything for him. Xander just enjoyed the fruits without understanding the importance of the initial hard work. Later, he ran around like a headless chicken. And finally, his investment failed. He not only squandered Narcissa's savings of more than 10 years, but also owed millions of debts. Narcissa was forced to sell her house, and even made her parents sell their retirement home to raise enough money to pay off Xander's debts. And Cain had long prepared divorce papers with Narcissa. After Xander got into debt, he divorced quickly and ran away with his mistress. Since the business failure, Xander has been severely hit. He stays at home all day, completely becoming a shut-in. Narcissa has to find ways to support not only herself but also her good-for-nothing son. However, she hasn't worked for so long that she's completely out of touch with society, and can only get the hardest and most tiring physical jobs. She works several jobs a week, exhausted every day, but still can't get Xander's understanding. Now Xander stays at home all day, only finding momentary satisfaction from games and the internet. Even so, he's still full of complaints. If it weren't for you, I would have become a company president long ago. You don't deserve to be my mother at all. My mother should be like Celine. You loser. How come you only earn so little? It's not even enough for me to order takeout. This young man in his 20s often hits and scolds Narcissa, not treating her as his mother at all. Seeing me waiting for the manager in the reception room, dressed leisurely and appropriately, she completely broke down. In this life, I've suffered so much. It should be me living in a villa and traveling. It's pitiful. Even now, she's still obsessing over this, not realizing that she's the one who caused today's situation. The manager looked at me apologetically and said, "I'm sorry. This person hasn't received induction training yet. I hope this didn't disturb you." With a wave of his hand, several tall and strong security guards immediately dragged her away. Facing the manager's apologetic smile, I just nodded slightly at him, saying something with implied meaning. If I were Manager Liu, I wouldn't hire such an emotionally unstable cleaner. The manager was a shrewd person and could understand my meaning. He smiled knowingly and turned to instruct a girl from the personnel department. After arranging for the bill of cleaning, I stretched and rubbed my wrist. My son is good in everything, except for his bad taste in choosing gifts. The big gold bracelet he bought is a bit tacky and heavy on the wrist. Oh well. Valiant has no taste either. I'll ask him to buy me a new one when we're traveling. The moment my husband was reborn, he couldn't wait to bypass me and save Maya, who was about to be hit by a car. Within days, Damon came to propose marriage. He planned to ride to power leverage my family's influence. Of course, I was destined to be the one abandoned. But Damon didn't know that he wasn't the only one reborn. His elaborate schemes were nothing but those of a buffoon. In the blink of an eye, it had been the 7th year of my marriage to Damon. Time washed everything away. But my love and gratitude for Damon never changed. Damon had saved my life, literally risked his own to do so. My mother made me swear that I would serve Damon like a servant for the rest of my life to repay his kindness. Over 7 years, I quit my state-owned enterprise job to dedicatedly serve Damon at home. He was infertile, but he soon brought back a son, claiming he was adopted. I gave up everything to support my husband and raise our child. A few years later, my father suddenly passed away. Before he died, he told me, "Don't be deceived by them. They write." At the time, I didn't know who they referred to. It was the 6th day after Damon's proposal, and his first love, Maya, returned from abroad. Damon didn't hide it. My mother said, "It's rare for a man to be so honest. You should go with him and make sure that woman knows Damon is about to get married." I followed my mother's advice. Unexpectedly, an accident occurred. Damon rejected Maya's invitation and hailed a car by the roadside. But an out-of-control car came hurtling straight toward Maya and me. The car was speeding, and there was no place to dodge. It seemed certain we would be hit. Worse, I was staring at Damon the entire time and didn't realize the danger. When I heard the crowd's gasps and turned to look, I thought I was done for. From Damon's eyes, I could see that the light of his first love still burned brightly in his heart, a long burning lamp that couldn't be extinguished. He should save Maya, right? But to my surprise, in the nick of time, Damon chose me. He pushed me away and saved my life. Maya was killed on the spot. Half a month later, I married Damon. My mother said, "A man who would risk his life to save you, isn't he worth trusting? Who else could be worth it?" From then on, everyone said Damon had given me a new chance at life. That he was my benefactor. After marriage, the good times didn't last. Maya was dead, but the lamp in Damon's heart never went out. Whenever he thought of that scene, he would feel deep regret. Yes, why dad almost sigh. Regret. Although he didn't say it, I knew he must regret saving me. Previously, Damon's family had looked down on Maya, but after her death, they constantly praised Maya, especially when they knew I could hear. I didn't mind. Damon had saved my life, and I had to repay him by being good to him. So there were no mother-in-law conflicts in my marriage, no family discord, and no 7-year itch. When my mother-in-law bullied me, I let it go. She was Damon's mother, and since I owed her son, I owed her too. It was all part of repaying my debt. When my father-in-law asked me to quit my job and serve Damon full-time while he started his business, I agreed without hesitation. For years, I cooked, cleaned, and waited on them all, making sure they lived comfortably. Damon was busy, often returning home at 11 or 12 p.m., but no matter the time, there was always a hot meal waiting for him. Damon hated noise, so I never disturbed him. Every morning, after cleaning, I slept on the living room couch. For 7 years, Damon never picked out his own clothes or put on his own shoes. I owed him a debt of gratitude that could never be repaid in this life, and I did it willingly. The 2nd year of our marriage, Damon showed me a diagnosis report. "Iris, we may never have our own children. Do you resent me?" Damon looked as guilty as a child who had made a mistake. Damon was infertile, with no cure. "It doesn't matter. As long as I have you, this family is complete." I threw myself into his arms to comfort him, but his chest felt hard as if nothing could soften it. I always thought it was because of his guilt toward me. 2 months later. Damon brought home a 2-year-old boy. Iris. We have a child now. From now on. He's ours. I know you love children, you'll be good to him. Right? Damon's face was full of urgency. So I nodded. That day was the 2nd anniversary of Maya's death. Damon cried for a long time at Maya's grave, pulling the little boy to kowtow several times. Of course. I didn't mind. If he hadn't saved me, Maya would have survived and married Damon, living a happy life. For 7 years. The weight of gratitude pressed on my heart, but I convinced myself that repaying him was more important than anything. My life was his gift. But gradually, things started to feel wrong. Every year, Damon would visit Maya's grave, always taking our son. He cried harder each year, showing no sign of moving on. It didn't look like nostalgia. It looked more like fear. Donan's attitude toward me grew colder, from distant to accusatory and abusive. Eventually, having fulfilled my obsession, he even started hitting me. Our son also hated me, torturing and bullying me in every way. I endured it all, because everyone told me I had to. Then, let out a low sigh. My father suddenly died. Before he passed, he said, "Don't be deceived by them. They grieve too." I still didn't know who they were. As an only child, Damon naturally inherited all my father's business empire and became the leading tycoon of South City. On Maya's anniversary, Damon didn't go to the cemetery for the first time. He sent our son instead, worried the child would catch a cold. I went to bring him clothes, but I heard my son say to the tombstone, "Mother, everything of Iris's family is ours now. That woman will join you soon enough." A wave of darkness seemed to engulf me. I confronted Damon, screaming for the truth. He flew into a rage and dragged me into the street. Just then, a speeding car hit both of us. When I woke up, I found myself in the scene from 7 years ago. Next to me, Maya was weeping. "Damon, do you really want to leave me? Will you give up 3 years of our love for this woman? You said you'd be good to me forever." I looked closely. Maya was alive. I turned to the road and saw a speeding car heading straight for us. As history threatened to repeat itself, Damon bypassed me without a second glance and ran to Maya. And me? I exhaled deeply, finally feeling completely at ease. By anticipating the danger, I easily dodged the car. It turned out that as long as I looked back, I could save myself. I had never understood that before. Something was wrong. I suddenly realized a grim truth: I was reborn. But history hadn't repeated. Damon hadn't saved me. That meant I wasn't the only one reborn. Damon was reborn too. I could see he was struggling to control his emotions. Holding Maya, who was back from the dead. His eyes were determined, but his limbs trembled. I was sure he would have kissed Maya fiercely if his fiancée, hadn't been there. Sure enough, Damon ignored me and took Maya home. Now, Maya became the target of disdain in Damon's family. Labeled a vicious woman who destroyed marriages, selfish and cunning. And cunning she was. She had returned to South City just half a month before Damon's wedding and specifically invited us to cook her up at the airport. But none of this mattered to me anymore. I felt only relief. When I got home, my father was still alive, cooking my favorite pig's trotter rice in the kitchen. I wolfed down 3 trotters and 3 bowls of rice until my father warned, "One more bite, and your stomach will explode." I jumped into his arms, covering his face with kisses. Reborn. I knew the only person who truly loved me in this world was my father. I stayed home for half a month. Not working. Not even getting out of bed. Letting go of all the grievances from my past life. I didn't have any evil plans. Being with someone who truly loved me in this new life was enough. I didn't need to torture myself. But I was too naive. I might have let Damon go. But now that he was reborn, he wouldn't let me go easily. One day, I bought trotters and was pestering my father to cook them for me when my mother suddenly approached. "Iris, do you remember Damon from the Damon family? He visited our house last month with Uncle Chin." The trotters fell to the floor. "Who's Damon? I don't remember." Looking at my mother's overly friendly but unnatural smile, I tried to stay calm. Was this inevitable? "Don't be silly. He's a handsome young man. capable and hardworking. He runs his own company and earns millions every year. When Uncle Chen brought him here, your father said he was a good lad. My mother knew I was close to my father, so she lied deliberately. I didn't respond, not wanting to engage. Your father and I have decided it's time for you to get married. You can't stay at home forever. The Damon family is excellent, powerful, with a good background. I checked, Damon's parents are both university professors. Very cultured. Hearing this, I felt a surge of nausea. University professors? Cultured? Was throwing dirty socks in my face cultured? Was stepping on the coffee table barefoot cultured? Since when had culture become so cheap as to be associated with them? I won't marry him. If you like him, you marry him. I shot back bluntly. My mother instantly reverted to her usual tone. What nonsense. You little brat. Have some respect. Iris's father. Look how spoiled she is talking to me like that. It's infuriating. My father, of course, doted on me. As the richest man in South City, he had the means to support his daughter. Enough. If our daughter doesn't want to marry, she won't. Besides, the Damon family isn't as great as you say. They'd have to climb high to match our daughter. My mother's expression soured. Iris's father. Since when did you become so snobbish? The Damon family is from a scholarly family. Damon is only 24 but has achieved more than you did at his age. Don't look down on people. Watching my mother's flushed face, I felt a pang of pity for the past me who had been sold out by her own mother. Women always have their ways. And after years of a good marriage, my father, despite being South City's richest man, had always been dedicated to his family. Within days, I saw mother preparing a dowry. Your father said this marriage is as good as settled if you agree. Listen to me. Damon is absolutely someone you can entrust your life to. I snatched the silk quilt from mother's hands and cut it into shreds with scissors. I'll decide my own matters. Stay out of it. In my past life, Damon and I had no connection. It was only because mother strongly urged it that I reluctantly agreed to meet him, never expecting it to be the beginning of a tragedy. In this life, I must take control of my own destiny no matter what. What's discardable can be thrown away, but never fed to dogs. I know Damon is reborn. So his goal is clear, to marry the only daughter of the Iris family. I didn't understand why before, but now I roughly grasped that from the start. He wasn't interested in me, he wanted the Iris family's fortune. As for why he saved Maya instead of me at the critical moment, it seems he truly regrets losing her. The Damon family's business isn't large, especially compared to the Iris family. Even so, it didn't stop the Damons from looking down on Maya from a humble background. Damon wouldn't give up and launched a fierce campaign to pursue me. He brought fruits, my favorite durian. He brought stuffed toys, my beloved teddy bear. When I saw the signed Jeju album, I was certain this guy had been reborn just like me. I only became a fan of Jeju after marrying Damon. This was too obvious. Using the advantage of Rebirth, he thought he could easily win over a woman who didn't dislike him from the start. But Damon had no idea that when he was reborn, so was I. He was acting. I was watching. It was quite entertaining. Damon, you don't need to waste time on me. You have your first love. So stop flirting around. It makes you look playboy and shameless. I said deliberately. Damon froze for a moment. Iris? You misunderstand. There's no romantic feeling between me and Maya. I've always treated her like a younger sister. She saved my life before. So that day, I've always regretted that I should have thrown myself in the way instead, so both of you would be safe. See? He'd finally slipped up. But we are both safe. Damon tried to use the deep affection tactic, but after being reborn, I no longer had such naivety. Seeing that I remained unmoved, Damon was probably confused and laid low for a few days. Then Maya came to my door. Iris, I know you have misunderstandings. There's really nothing between me and Damon. I'm not a threat to you. And I can't threaten you. I'm going abroad in a few days. I hope you'll treat Damon well. Hearing this, I wanted to slap her. Was she delegating her responsibilities before dying? Did she think I ran an orphanage? Besides, wait a minute. I suddenly remembered something. I walked beside Maya and pretended to stretch, casually lifting her t-shirt. Sure enough, there was a scar on Maya's stomach. Over 20 centimeters long. Oh, have you had a child? I was shocked inside but acted as if nothing was wrong. As expected, the child Damon adopted was his and Mammoth's. Ridiculous. To help Damon recover from his shadow, as soon as possible, I'd treated that child like my own son for years, sparing no effort to care for him and protect him from any hardship. In the end, he turned out to be Maya's child. Maya looked awkward, standing there speechless. Just as I felt triumphant, Mother suddenly walked over. Child, didn't you just have an appendectomy last month? Did you forget? Damon hadn't told me. How would you explain this? Aren't you going abroad? Leave quickly. Damon and Iris are meant to be together. If I catch you pestering Damon, I won't let you off. Was Mother defending me? Clearly not. I felt only shock. As if countless knives were churning in my heart, making me breathless, forcing down my anger. I asked casually, was it People's Hospital last month? Their doctors have the best skills. Maya obviously hadn't reacted yet and blurted out, yes. It was People's Hospital. Their skills are excellent. I didn't feel any pain at all. And the surgery was done quickly. My heart sank. Weren't you just back from abroad a few days ago? The truth was completely exposed. Although Maya made up many excuses, saying she'd actually returned to Nanchang earlier and secretly tracked Damon to win him back, she later realized he only had eyes for me. So she lied about just returning to sow discord between us. If I hadn't been reborn, I might have been deceived by her. I might even have stayed with Damon just to prevent her from succeeding. But I was shocked. Everything made sense now. Damon and Maya had a child, so their original plan was to stage a car accident where he'd play the hero, forcing me to accept him out of gratitude. I believed that in Damon's original plan, the accident wouldn't kill Maya. Something must have gone wrong. But what shocked me wasn't that. It was Mother. When she began explaining Maya's scar, I knew she'd long known about Damon and Maya's child yet still insisted on my marrying him. I'd thought Mother was just an instigator of my failed marriage. But now I knew she was deeply involved in all of this. I couldn't fathom why she would push her own daughter into the jaws of a tiger. That night, I stayed awake, having fulfilled my desire, staring at the ceiling from dusk till dawn. Some things are understandable. Others are unforgivable. I suddenly remembered a phrase Mother often used when I was a child, stop crying. Or I'll throw you out to feed the wolves. Useless thing. Early the next morning, I got into Father's car. Dad, why didn't you and Mom have another child? Mom must like boys. Right? Father shook his head and stroked my hair. Silly girl. Your mother has always loved you deeply. I did suggest having another child, but she feared dividing our love for you and refused. You should thank her. Could I have been switched at birth? I asked. Father laughed for a long time before saying, I watched the nurse put your name tag on. How could there be a mistake? Besides, your father is the richest man in Nanchang. Your mother gave birth in our private hospital, and she was the only one in the delivery room. Where would the mistake come from? All my suspicions were denied. I was indeed Mother's biological daughter. Yet she was determined to send me to my doom. This didn't make sense. Just as I confirmed my suspicions, Mother struck again. One day, she took me hiking and deliberately dismissed the bodyguards. Do I need an audience to talk to my daughter? Stay close but don't follow. I'll call if I need you. Hearing this, I knew something was up, but I didn't refuse, just watched her performance quietly. Sure enough, soon after we started climbing, I noticed something odd. A usually crowded place was eerily deserted today. Before I could react, several burly men rushed out of the woods and tied me up without a word. I heard Mother shouting for help, but though my eyes were blindfolded, I could tell she wasn't truly panicked. I was locked in a dark room while they called Father for ransom. 30,000 yuan. I almost laughed out loud. Clearly, having so sold by a Basai, Damon hadn't told them who I was. The daughter of the richest man. And they wanted 30K? Was this an insult? I was held for 3 days. Fed well. And no one dared mistreat me. These kidnappers were clearly amateurs. Their guards even fell asleep on duty. I didn't try to escape. I waited until the 4th day. Sure enough, I heard commotion next door, sounds of a fight. After half an hour, Damon appeared before me, injured on the shoulder. Iris, don't be afraid. I'm here to save you. With me around, no one can hurt you. Let's go. The act was over the top. A knife wound on his shoulder was deep enough to show bone. Looking at this method actor, I smiled. I'm not leaving. Your play isn't over yet. That morning, when Mother called me for the hike, I'd sensed trouble. So I used the excuse of changing clothes to return to my bedroom and slipped a micro-listening device with GPS tracking into my bra, hiding it under a nipple pouch. I felt like a pervert. But it worked. When I was kidnapped, my police friend already knew my location. He didn't rescue me immediately because I kept telling him to wait. Just wait. Wait until Damon came to save me. To make it look real, Damon even had the kidnappers call Father for ransom. Damon knew Father would never call the police. He'd give up all the Iris family's assets without hesitation. So Damon thought everything was foolproof. And he saw police officers closing in from all directions. Arrest them all. Don't let anyone escape, Damon ordered, pointing at the kidnappers. But I raised my hand and pointed at Damon, and him. He's the mastermind. By the time Mother and Father arrived, Damon was already in custody. A police officer reassured me. Don't be scared, little girl. These criminals will get what they deserve. I smiled coldly, not scared at all. They should be the ones afraid. Mother instantly panicked and rushed to my side. No, Iris. This can't get out. If people find out you were kidnapped and disappeared for 3 days, how will you ever get married? This will ruin your reputation. I decided to play along with Mother. Mom, had unfulfilled my obsession. Don't worry. The police uncle will clear my name. And I directly took out the bug from my clothes, shook it, and then said, everything that happened these days is recorded in here. I wasn't defiled by them. And there's evidence. Am I right? My mom said timidly. That's true. Huh. My daughter is smart. Several people were arrested and detained for a few days. I insisted they were just acting, and had no real intention to kidnap me. That was indeed the story Damon had arranged for them. I didn't insist too much. After just 3 days, I issued a letter of understanding, forgiving Damon and his group for their prank. But if you think things ended there, you underestimate me. During the days Damon was in custody, I didn't stay idle. First, I went to Damon's parents' house and accused them of abetting Damon to kidnap me. What was your motive? I demanded. My former mother-in-law was so scared she wet herself. Iris, we had no idea Damon would do such an absurd thing. This has nothing to do with us. We knew nothing. My former father-in-law wasn't much better. He had severe heart disease. In my past life, he lived a few extra years only because I took good care of him. After my confrontation, he was so scared he didn't dare eat for 3 days. Choking with pent-up anger, I took off my socks. I'll forgive your son. But these socks were handmade by my dad and now they're dirty. What do you plan to do about it? We'll wash them. We'll wash them clean for you. And so, I spent the day watching TV on their living room sofa while my former-in-laws knelt at the bathroom door, washing my socks all day. I didn't make them kneel, they did it themselves. Even deliberately facing my direction to plead for their son. How could a kind person like me refuse? Right? The next day, I signed the letter of understanding. And Damon was released. 5 days later, Damon's father died of a sudden heart attack on the way to the hospital. His mother, already timid and volatile, panicked when she lost her husband. At least she still had her son to rely on for retirement. But she didn't know the best part was yet to come. Although the kidnapping was ruled a farce, the Damon family's reputation in South City was completely ruined. For the record, this had nothing to do with me. My dad is like this, if you wrong him, he might not care after all. He's a tycoon with that kind of tolerance. But if you touch his daughter, sorry, he'll dig up your ancestral grave. My dad had always opposed my marriage to Damon, but reluctantly let me decide, because of my mom's insistence. He knew Damon would play Ricks. But he never expected a kidnapping plot. Kidnapping the tycoon's daughter? Playing games with the tycoon? The day Damon was arrested, my dad's friends sent evidence of all the shady deeds the Damon family had committed over the years while running their company and factory, refusing to pay workers, tax evasion, producing counterfeit goods. The list was so long it couldn't fit on one page. Damon wasn't worried at first. He anticipated such risks and kept his mother as the company's legal representative. At 78, the old woman couldn't go to jail. But the catch? The Damon family went bankrupt, completely bankrupt. Decades of family wealth vanished, leaving them with over 70 million yuan in debt. Even if Damon worked as a male model earning yuan a day, it would take him 200 years to pay it off. The old woman was so anxious, knowing her son couldn't support her, that she joined her late husband ahead of time. As for Maya, I wasn't in a hurry. Her family background was worse than Damon's. When she left South City for abroad, she hadn't gone to study, she'd gone to work as a prostitute. Damon had promised to be with her forever. But back then, he was drowning in debt from his startup and couldn't support her. Encouraged by a friend, Maya gritted her teeth and went abroad. After years of relentless work, she saved some money and planned to return home, reinvent herself, and marry a rich second generation to settle down. But as soon as she got back, she fell back into old habits and hooked up with Damon, only to get pregnant. Damon insisted she keep the baby, but Maya refused. It would interfere with her work. That's when Damon revealed his plan: marry into the Iris family. Since I was the only heir, all family assets would eventually be his, and he'd share half with Maya if she had the child. Maya, worldly as she was, wasn't fooled until my mom intervened and revealed a truth she couldn't refuse. As I'd suspected, in Damon's original plan, Maya wasn't supposed to die. That's why he'd felt guilty for years, tortured by the eternal light of his first love. For over a month, I stayed quiet, and everyone thought the matter was closed. Then a friend returned from abroad, and I wasted no time sending Damon a package of documents. Damon had avoided jail and was working hard to repay debts, acting humble and determined. As a reborn person with business experience, making money wasn't hard for him. He paid off over 5 million yuan in just a month, seeming poised for a comeback. But how could I let that happen? When Damon saw the documents, he froze. The contents were explosive. Details of Maya's life abroad as a prostitute, with price lists: 300 yuan for a home visit, 400 yuan for anything goes, 500 yuan for special requests, 600 yuan for unlimited services, and promotional posters featuring her provocative photos. But the most shocking part was the last page: a paternity test showing the son wasn't Damon's but an Asian Korean man's. It turned out Damon had lied about being infertile in our past life. A diagnosis was fake, arranged by a friend. No. The curse came true. He really was infertile. Deception hadn't fulfilled my obsession. Betrayal. A dirty first love. Calculations. Schemes. A son who wasn't his. If Damon weren't reborn, he might have stayed calm after all. He was a profit-driven businessman who could set aside dignity for gain. But his rebirth was his undoing. Years of guilt over Maya had haunted him for 7 years. When the truth exploded, he snapped. One day, as I ate my dad's pig's trotter rice, I saw a crime news report: a man had stormed a massage parlor and stabbed a beautiful woman over 100 times, killing her on the spot. Police initially ruled it a crime of passion and vowed to arrest the suspect within a week to restore peace to South City. When my mom saw the news, she froze like a zombie. I just ate more happily. After that, my mom's health deteriorated rapidly. She became gaunt and listless, like a walking corpse, never smiling again. But whenever she saw me, she'd act overly solicitous, like a beggar craving pity. One day, I convinced my dad to let me take Mom hiking. Fresh air will help her mood, I said. Mom tensed up immediately. Hiking is dangerous. Better to stay home. I grabbed her hand and pleaded. Mom, please come with me. I want to climb the mountain with you. My dad added. Go with her. She cares about you. All the way up. I care for Mom carefully, ensuring she didn't tire. At the summit, She seemed to relax slightly while admiring the view. I stepped beside her and suddenly asked, Mom, I didn't fulfill my obsession. Why did you do it? Her face instantly paled. What are you talking about? Iris? I don't understand. I smiled. You arranged the car that hit me. Didn't you? Mom turned white as a sheet and froze for minutes. You know everything? I nodded. They probably all know by now. Those who don't, well, they never will. Mom put on a pitiful act. I'm sorry, Iris. I just wanted you to marry Damon. So from the start, you only cared about your biological son and never thought about me at all. Right? Mom's eyes were bloodshot. Wide with shock. I already know the truth. Damon is your son from another man. You were afraid Dad would find out. So you entrusted him to a couple and paid them monthly to raise him. When Damon grew up, you decided everything in the Iris family should belong to him. So you schemed to make me marry him. Then push me out so you and Damon could take over. But you miscalculated one thing, the scar on Maya's stomach wasn't from an appendectomy. It was from a C-section. You shouldn't have tried to cover for her. By the time I finished, Mom's face had lost all color. She stared blankly into the distance. Her eyes devoid of life. Iris. Mom. I didn't hold back. Do you even deserve to be called my mother? Damon and I are half-siblings. You have no morals at all. I finally understood why. In my past life, Damon never touched me after marriage, claiming he was infertile. Too busy. Even making me move from the master bedroom to the living room. It was ridiculous. After a long silence, Mom whispered, Can you forgive me, Iris? I blurted out. Of course. Absolutely. And I added. Actually, Damon always knew the car you arranged that day was meant to kill Maya. You knew he already had an heir. So there was no need to keep her alive. Right? But again, what again? You miscalculated. I handed her the paternity test results. Her hands trembled uncontrollably. You knew this all along? Mom asked, staring at me in disbelief. I smiled sadly. I just don't understand why. As your child, I was trampled in the mud while he was put on a pedestal. I watched the light fade from Mom's eyes as she bowed her head. I'm sorry, Iris. I'm so sorry. But you're a girl. Daughters can't inherit the family business you'd eventually marry out. I was doing this for your father. Why should his lifelong work fall into outsiders' hands? Why? She still didn't regret it. Her life was full of hatred. Never love. Without another word, I turned and walked down the mountain alone. Did I give up? Of course not. I knew exactly how it felt for someone obsessed with sons over daughters to lose their son. She'd always been proud and domineering, relying on Damon as her backbone. Now, that backbone was gone. Originally, hadn't felt sorry. She could accept Damon's downfall because she still had a grandson, the family bloodline, the inheritor of the fortune, the hope to restore their glory. After all, as a girl, I was destined to hand the Iris family's legacy to someone else. But now, even her only grandson belonged to someone else, no blood relation to Damon or her. Do you know what it feels like for the foundation of your beliefs to collapse? To spend years plotting, only to realize you were the fool all along? Mom once made me swear to repay Damon's kindness with my life. But when I got home, Dad had already prepared dinner, my favorite pig's trotter rice. Before I could speak, he said, Your mom called earlier. She went back to her hometown and said she'll stay there a long time. Weren't you hiking together? Why did she leave so suddenly? I smiled, gazing out the window. Maybe she missed her family. After all, she hasn't been back in years. The pig's trotter rice was delicious, and I ate until I was full. After dinner, I lay on Dad's lap to rest. You been tired lately? He asked. You seem out of sorts. I looked up at him. Yeah, a little. I'll be fine after some rest. Dad, promise you won't arrange any blind dates for me. I want to stay by your side forever. Of course. My girl. As long as you wish. I'll always take care of you. See? The purest soul in the world is my billionaire father. After the car accident, I was stuck in my seat and couldn't move. I cried and begged my husband. Silas. To save me. But he said to me, you owe this to Claire. If you hadn't married me, she wouldn't have died. Claire was his assistant. She committed suicide by jumping into the river on the day Silas and I got married. And gasoline leaked and there was an explosion. Given a second chance, I was back on the day of my wedding. When the master of ceremonies announced the exchange of rings, I snatched the ring that Silas was about to put on me and ran to put it on Claire, who was in the audience. I'm giving Silas to you. Wish you a happy marriage for 100 years. Probably no one expected this change. The entire wedding venue fell into a deathly silence. Claire was obviously terrified. She pulled her hand out, looking nervous and uneasy, and her eyes subconsciously turned to Silas on the stage. I twitched the corners of my mouth. Just as I was about to say something, I heard Silas's angry voice. Scarlett. What are you doing? As soon as he finished speaking, he was already by Claire's side. Silas instinctively protected Claire behind him and growled at me in a low voice. What are you making a scene for? Do you not want to get married anymore? Gradually, whispers started to spread in the quiet venue. What's wrong with the eldest daughter of the Scarlett family? Isn't this the marriage alliance she begged for? Exactly. Wasn't she just Silas's admirer before? What is she doing now? Could it be that she's jealous of Silas's assistant? That can't be right. Silas is a well-known workaholic and not interested in women. Yes, having fulfilled my obsession. Silas is cold and distant. I chased after him for 8 years. But he was always indifferent to me. But he also didn't seem interested in other women, at least from my perspective. So when he told me during the car accident that it was my marriage that led to Claire's suicide, I was so shocked. I was shocked that there was a relationship between them that went beyond that of ordinary colleagues. Such an expression fell into his eyes. And he sneered. Did we hide it well? You've been pestering me. But you know nothing. I really didn't notice. And neither did anyone else. One was the person I liked and who eventually became my husband. The other was a poor student I had sponsored. Then, below sigh. To help her, I recommended her to work as an assistant for the person I liked. Their family backgrounds were so different. And their appearances didn't match either. They really hid it well. I still remember I finally asked Silas, this car accident wasn't an accident, was it? Is this revenge on me? His expression became frantic as he said, if you hadn't insisted on getting married, how could Claire have died? I closed my eyes. Clearly, having fulfilled my obsession. He had said that the new product he was in charge of wanted to expand its market share and needed the support of the Scarlett family. The Silas family was originally weaker than the Scarlett family. Without benefits, the Scarlett family would only offer support through a marriage alliance. So I persuaded my parents to let me marry him. How did it end up being my fault in the end? Why aren't you talking? If you don't want to get married, just cancel the wedding. Silas's angry voice came to my ears, pulling me back to reality. Fine, let out a low sigh. That suits me just right. I replied. Silas's expression was startled for a moment, as if he didn't expect me to really agree. He lowered his voice. Are you playing with me? Isn't it enough for you to lose face for your own family? Do you have to drag the Silas family into it? The guests were confused. And the elders on both sides came out to persuade. They said we should talk about any problems later and finish the process first. Claire, who was behind Silas, also stuck out half of her body and said weakly, I'm sorry, Scarlett. I don't know if I've offended you somewhere. I apologized to you first. Her expression was full of fear, as if she really didn't know what was going on. But her hand subconsciously pressed the ring I put on her, showing no intention of taking it off. I looked at her innocent expression and smiled. Look. This woman's ring in the pair suits you so well. The size fits perfectly. Claire's face changed. It seemed she remembered. She had also tried on this pair of rings. Not only had she tried them on, but she had also posted about it on her small Shioganshu account. I hope one day I can wear this ring openly. But the point wasn't the pair of rings, but the background behind them. She was in a hotel suite, trying on this pair of rings. With Silas. I waved my hand. And the venue darkened. The wedding photos of Silas and me on the big screen were removed, and new photos started to be shown in rotation. In the photos, a man was hugging a woman. From the parking lot to entering a hotel room. Although the photos were taken from a distance, it could still be seen that it was Silas and Claire. The moment he saw the photos, Silas's eyes widened, and he shouted, "What is this? Why is this being shown? Stop it." But no one listened to him. After all, I was in charge of the wedding preparations, and the staff only listened to me. Just as he was about to find someone to stop the playback, the last photo was shown. The last photo stopped at the scene of Silas and Claire kissing. The whispers in the venue grew louder. So Silas liked someone so ordinary. I really didn't see that coming. I heard it was Scarlett who introduced her to Silas's company. Scarlett probably didn't expect to be betrayed by an ugly woman. The scene became more and more chaotic, and the elders on both sides were also asking what was going on. Claire's face turned deathly pale, and her hand unconsciously tugged at the hem of Silas's clothes. Silas was extremely angry. "You were spying on me? Hurry up and ask someone to turn off the screen." I glanced at him and said, "So what if I was spying on you? I have even more explosive stuff, which will be shown soon." Hearing this, Claire rushed in front of me, knelt down, and cried, "Scarlett, I'm sorry. I couldn't help but fall in love with President Silas. I was wrong. I shouldn't have forgotten your kind. I'll disappear right away and will never appear in front of you and President Silas again." As she said this, she stood up and was about to leave. But I grabbed her from behind. She stumbled and fell to the ground. Her bag also dropped, and the contents scattered all over the place. Among a pile of miscellaneous items, there was a pregnancy test report. In a hurry, she grabbed a small paper cutting knife from the miscellaneous items and was about to cut her wrist. I kicked it and sent the knife flying. "If you want to die, don't do it today," I said expressionlessly. Claire lay on the ground, weeping silently. Silas immediately squatted down and wanted to help her up, but she refused to get up. I walked over and picked up the pregnancy test report. "Stop acting. You went to see Silas earlier today and asked him to run away with you, didn't you? But he didn't, even though you said you were pregnant. So you want to die. Not because you're sorry to me, but because Silas chose me instead of you." Hearing my words, the expressions on Silas and Claire's faces were extremely colorful. Claire even forgot to keep crying. People in the venue were talking animatedly, and some even started taking out their phones to take pictures. My family was already furious and was questioning the Silas family about what was going on. The Silas family was busy comforting my parents and explaining to the guests at the same time. Completely overwhelmed, I took off my veil and put it on Claire. "Just wear it openly. I don't want this man anymore. He's yours." In my previous life, Claire disappeared after my wedding. After the police investigated, they found out that she had jumped into the river. Although her body was never found, with the river flowing so fast, there was basically no hope of survival. We all thought she was dead. I had doubts about her death and even asked Silas about it. Silas also said he didn't know. Maybe the pressure at home was too much. I did know that Claire's family was very poor. Her mother was paralyzed, her father was a gambling addict, and her younger siblings were still in school. She was the only one supporting the family. I just didn't expect that Silas had lied to me. Claire didn't commit suicide because of her family, but because of him. But somehow he blamed it all on me. Not long after I died, Claire came back to life. It turned out that after she jumped into the river that time, she didn't die but was saved by someone. She simply changed her name and identity and went abroad. She also gave birth to Silas's child abroad. Eventually, the two of them reconciled and got back together. Watching the two people who betrayed me finally live a happy life, my resentment reached its peak in my soul state. So after a flash of white light, I was reborn. Reborn a month before the wedding. I wasn't without the means to directly cancel the wedding and stay away from them. But I wanted to take revenge on them even more. So I hired a private detective to follow them. And I put a bug in the pen I gave to Silas. I exposed them in public. Then I cancelled the marriage alliance as a result. making it impossible for the new product Silas was in charge of to proceed. After this incident, the marriage alliance between the Scarlet family and the Silas family naturally fell through. But Silas didn't seem to think so. I received his call a week later. His tone wasn't good. "Scarlet, why haven't you brought me food these days? I want to eat sweet and sarsaparilla." "Yes, heading fulfilled my obsession. I used to be so infatuated. I learned to cook the dishes he liked, cooked for him, and brought him food every day. But now, what you want to eat has nothing to do with me." I hung up the phone. Silas called back immediately. "Let's put the food-bringing thing aside. When are we going to talk about the marriage alliance? Because of your fuss last time. The wedding was ruined and it has to be held again." I was so angry that I left. "We're not getting married. Go find Claire. She's pregnant with your child. It wouldn't be polite to get married again." Unexpectedly, Silas got angry. "What are you making a fuss about again? It's been a week. Isn't it enough? As for Claire, I'll ask her to abort the child. It won't affect our marriage." I still remember the frantic expression on his face when he mentioned Claire at the end of my previous life. At that time, with the help of the Scarlet family, he expanded his business and became the head of the Silas family. Perhaps he finally remembered the goodness of his first love. And now, before he has firmly established himself in the Silas family, he sacrificed Claire. I sneered and said, "You're really cold-blooded." Then I hung up the phone. After that, I rejected all of Silas's calls. I guess his patience had reached its limit. Finally, having fulfilled my desire, I received a message. "Scarlet, I gave you a chance. Remember, you gave up the marriage alliance yourself. Don't regret it." After the marriage alliance was cancelled, the Scarlet family's shopping mall stopped selling the new product that Silas was in charge of overnight. Even other products of the Silas family were placed in inconspicuous corners. The originally agreed upon investment was also cancelled. My best friend gossiped with me, saying that other investors saw that something was wrong with the Silas family and also withdrew their investments one after another. She also told me that a video of my wedding farce was taken and spread online. Silas's identity was dug out, and the products he was in charge of also suffered. He's so brazen while dating two people at the same time. For a company run by someone with moral flaws, could there be problems with their products? This product has been completely removed from the counters in the Scarlet family's malls. There must be something wrong with it. People even rushed to the official account of their products to curse, and it became a hot topic. The Silas family originally planned to go public, but now they had to postpone it. Mr. and Mrs. Shen came to visit my parents, but my parents turned them away. Silas also called me several times, but I got annoyed and blocked him. In desperation, the Silas family issued a statement. Silas stepped down from the position of company president, and someone else took over. He was no longer in charge of the company's product. This finally calmed down the public opinion online. A few days later, just as I was about to go out, unexpectedly, Claire blocked me at the door. "You just didn't marry Silas. Why does your family have to withdraw the investment in his family and remove the counters of his products? Do you know how much this affects him?" I glanced at Claire. She didn't have an abortion, and her lower abdomen had slightly bulged. "What right do you, an ungrateful wretch, have to talk to me like this?" Claire lowered her eyes and said, "I know I'm sorry for you about what happened between me and him. It's my fault. You can punish me, but I hope you won't affect Silas." I sneered and said, "You're right. Then I'll stop the financial support for your family." Claire was stunned. "My family?" "Yes, Kunai. The medical expenses for your mother and the tuition and living expenses for your younger brother are all funded by me. It's really time to stop." Claire's face turned pale. She always knew that her family was being supported, but she didn't know who the sponsor was. Usually, heading fulfilled by absorption, the identity of the sponsor is kept confidential for the sponsored person. Before, I revealed my identity to help her, because I thought Claire was too pitiful. Who would have thought I was helping an ungrateful person? Claire herself had no money. After the farce at the wedding, the Silas family thought she was a disgrace and fired her. All her previous savings had been used up to treat her mother's illness. Rely on Silas? Silas himself was struggling to make ends meet and had no time to support her family. I stopped the financial support for Claire's family and also had someone disclose the information to them. It was because Claire had offended the sponsor that the support was cut off. Especially since her younger brother was at a crucial stage of furthering his studies, entering a higher school. With the support stopped, her younger brother performed poorly in the exam and directly dropped out of school. There is no shortage of gossip in this circle. Before long, I learned that Claire had a miscarriage. Beaten by her father. But that's not something I should care about. I have more important things to do. 5 In my previous life, I got married right after graduation and became a full-time housewife, devoting myself to taking care of Silas and knowing nothing else. Now, I'm going to pick up my studies again, continue my further education, and learn to manage the family business. Some time ago, I had already started applying for a business postgraduate program abroad and was busy preparing materials. Now the materials are ready, and the application has been submitted. During the period of waiting for the offer, I plan to get some practical experience first. After discussing with my father, I'm going to enter a factory under our family's company and start from the bottom to get familiar with the production process. The factory is in another city. I refused my father's help and came to this city with my backpack. I rented a house, settled down, and started my internship. Not long after, one night, I received a call. "Scarlett, could you do me a favor?" The person on the phone was Gordon. He was Silas's cousin. We seldom contacted each other after he went abroad to study. I didn't know why he was calling me. Was he here to be Silas's lobbyist? I frowned and asked, "What's wrong?" Probably sensing the unfriendliness in my tone, he immediately explained, "I'm not here to speak for my cousin. I just arrived in City B. And then my friend stood me up. "Scarlett, could you come and pick me up at the high-speed rail station? I don't know the way." He said that he had made an appointment with a friend here to have fun. But as soon as he got off the high-speed rail, the friend told him that there was something urgent at home and couldn't receive him. His girlfriend suddenly came to his house with her parents, and he has to entertain them. He really can't take care of me. There was a bit of grievance in his tone. I remembered that when he was young, he always liked to follow me around, and he would speak in this tone when he was wronged. However, at that time, all my attention was on Silas, and I didn't have the energy to pay attention to others. Anyway, heading fulfilled website. We knew each other, and I happened to be free, so I went to the high-speed rail station. When I arrived at the high-speed rail station, just as I was about to make a call, someone patted me on the back. "Scarlett, long time no see." Gordon greeted me with a smile. Long time no see. The person in front of me was tall, slender, sunny, and handsome, completely different from the thin and small boy in my memory. I was stunned for a moment, then quickly came back to my senses. "Which hotel did you book? I'll take you there." I didn't book a hotel. My friend originally said I could stay at his place. But he looked at me pitifully. "Well, how about I find a hotel and take you there?" As I said this, I took out my phone and was about to search for nearby hotels. He stopped me. "I've already looked. There are no available rooms now." Indeed, it was just a small holiday, and City B was a popular tourist city. It was normal not to be able to book a hotel at the last minute. Then you," before I could ask what he was going to do, I heard Gordon say, "Scarlett, could you take me in?" He looked at me with an embarrassed expression, pleading. Before I could say no, he said pitifully again, "The tickets back are also sold out. If you don't take me in, Scarlett, I'll have to sleep at the high-speed rail station." It didn't have to be that dramatic. Actually, there was an empty room in the house I rented. Moreover, although my family had a falling out with the Silas family, our relationship with the Gordon family was still good, and there were business dealings. It wasn't very nice to directly refuse. "All right." Gordon smiled, "Thanks, Scarlett." 6 When I took him home, I was still a bit dazed. Gordon wasn't at all polite. After I showed him the empty room, he started cleaning and tidying up on his own. When I came to my senses and was just about to get him a quilt, I saw him take out a sleeping bag from his suitcase. You brought these for traveling? I asked in surprise. Gordon smiled. Well, I'm going to stay at someone else's house. It's not good to trouble them too much. I felt something was a bit strange. But I couldn't figure it out. Forget it. Then have a good rest, I said to him. Gordon replied with a smile. Okay. Good night, Scarlett. Early the next morning, when I got up, there was already breakfast on the table. Did you make this? Gordon nodded with a smile. I still remember that you like pumpkin porridge, Scarlett. I saw there were ingredients, so I made it. I didn't disturb you, did I? I shook my head and sat down to have the porridge. It was the taste I liked. Sweet. Suddenly, I felt a bit emotional. Besides my parents, there was someone who remembered my preferences. In my previous life, even after I got married to Silas, he didn't know what I liked. When I was sick, what he brought me was always preserved egg and lean meat porridge. That was what he liked. I once mentioned that I wanted to eat pumpkin porridge. He said okay, but the next time he brought the same preserved egg and lean meat porridge. Scarlett, I'm not familiar with City B either. Could you take me around? Gordon's voice pulled me back from my memories. I smiled at him. Actually, I'm not very familiar with it either. On weekends, I either stay at the factory or at home. Gordon's eyes lit up. Then let's go out and have a stroll during this holiday. I heard there are many interesting places in City B. That's right. Since I was reborn, my nerves have been tense all the time. It's time to relax. So Gordon and I went out together. To my surprise, Gordon, who said he wasn't familiar with City B, arranged the itinerary perfectly. I just made a travel plan before. He smiled. We went to the landmark attractions in City B, strolled along the famous pedestrian street, and finally found a quiet restaurant for dinner. How do I remember this restaurant requires a reservation? I asked casually, flipping through the menu. Gordon still smiled. I made a reservation before. While we were having dinner, Gordon said that the meeting between his friends to families went smoothly, and his friend's girlfriend's family would stay for a few more days. So he said he can't take care of me these days. Can I stay at your place for a few more days? After that, as if afraid I wouldn't agree, he added, I'll go back when the holiday is over. Or I'll check if I can change my ticket. I smiled. It's rare for you to come back to the country. Stay and have fun for a few more days. It doesn't affect me here. Anyway, having fulfilled my obsession. After one night, I didn't feel any inconvenience. Just as I finished speaking, I saw Silas coming out of a private room with several business people. He also saw Gordon and me. Silas gave me a meaningful glance and said something to those business people and walked over. There was a hint of disdain in his eyes as he looked at me and said, So that's why you suddenly went crazy at the wedding and kept me at a distance. It turns out you've hooked up with my cousin. I retorted. Are you out of your mind? Having a meal is called hooking up? Silas raised his eyebrows. Otherwise. Just as I was about to speak, Gordon interrupted me and said calmly, Cousin. Underhanded things are called hooking up, like what you did with your assistant. Gordon and I are having a legitimate date and dinner. Hearing this, Silas was obviously angry. This is not your place to talk. Gordon continued to mock. Cousin, you're here in City B to discuss cooperation, right? Why don't I see that assistant sister-in-law? Oh right. I forgot that the assistant sister-in-law was fired because of your messy business and couldn't show up in public. Silas's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. He couldn't hold back anymore and raised his fist. Just as the fist was about to hit Gordon's face, Gordon turned his head and blocked Silas's fist with his hand. I wouldn't mind going to the police station if you hit me. But your clients probably wouldn't want to see their partner with a violent tendency. Gordon raised his eyebrows and pointed his head at the business people who were chatting over there. Silas was extremely angry but could only put down his fist. Some of the business people over there were already calling him, and he had to go over. Before leaving, he looked at me and then said to Gordon in a deep voice, Stay away from her. 7 that night. Silas called me from another phone number. Scarlett, come back to me, and I'll let bygones be bygones. I frowned. I still wanted to make things clear to him. Silas. If you had shown any sign of having someone in your heart before, I wouldn't have been so eager. Since you were with Claire and got her pregnant, it's impossible for us to be together. Silas was silent for a long time. Then said, although it's a bit late, I still want to explain. I was kidnapped when I was a child. And she was my savior. She said she liked me, and didn't ask for any status. I really didn't know how to refuse. I just found it funny. Didn't know how to refuse? Was it the same for me? He was silent. I continued, so I've withdrawn. You don't have to struggle anymore. Just accept Claire. This time. Silas immediately spoke up. Scarlett. I've thought it over. The most suitable person for me is you. I'll give Claire a sum of money, and let her leave. I can promise you that you'll be the only one to be my wife. And you'll be the only one to bear my children. If you have any other demands. Just as I was about to interrupt him, I heard Gordon asking loudly in the kitchen. Scarlett. Where is the sesame oil? It's on the second layer of the cabinet next to the fridge. I answered Gordon first, not having time to refute Silas. Silas on the phone was stunned. Then, having fulfilled my obsession, he asked in disbelief, is Gordon at your place? Yes. I replied casually. After what happened at dinner, Gordon and I lost our appetites. So Gordon suggested that we go home and have a late-night snack, and he would prepare it. You actually let a man be in your house at night. Do you have no sense of shame? Silas's angry voice came through. How could I not have noticed in my previous life that Silas was out of his mind? It must be that being lovesick affected my eyesight. Silas. Are you living in the King dynasty? I said inferiorly, and besides, what business is it of yours whether there's a man in my house at night? Silas paused and then said, I'm doing this for your own good. I know exactly what a man of this age is thinking when he's in your house at night. I said, oh. So what? I'm an adult. And I have the freedom to do whatever I want. Gordon brought the cooked dishes over. I seemed to see him smile faintly. Almost imperceptibly. Hearing this, Silas said through gritted teeth, do as you please. Then he hung up the phone. After that, Silas never contacted me again. This might also be because I blocked this phone number as well. Gordon went back after the small holiday. And nothing happened between us. However, our communication became more frequent. I applied to a school in Country M. And Gordon, who was studying in Country M, was a great person to communicate with. Gordon said he honed his cooking skills while studying abroad. When you come over, I'll cook delicious food for you. My cooking skills are not bad. Right? I thought about it, and smiled. And thank you. Gordon also smiled. Don't be so polite. I'm really looking forward to cooking for you. Time passed quickly, and I received an offer from my target school. During this period, I also received an invitation to Silas and Claire's wedding. Instead of contacting me, Silas directly sent the invitation to my home. There was also a note attached. It's because you've degraded yourself that I chose Claire. Don't regret it. It was really ridiculous. I casually threw the invitation into the trash can. Ever since the scandal between Silas and his assistant broke out at the wedding, girls in the same circle have been avoiding him. He didn't have many good options left either. I heard that the Silas family had given up on him and instead started training his sister to take over the business. He set up his own company independently and was doing fairly well. I think this might be the source of his confidence. But it had nothing to do with me anymore. I had my own things to do. When it was almost time to start school, I ended my internship at the factory, went home, and began to prepare my luggage for going to Country M. While packing, I found an old amulet. After thinking for a while, I sent it to Silas. I should return it to the one who gave it to me. I wonder what kind of expression he'll have when he finds out that it was me, not Claire, who saved him when he was kidnapped. 9 When I was a child, I wasn't with my parents. After my parents divorced, my mother went abroad. So I lived in the countryside with my grandmother. There was an abandoned factory in the countryside. By chance, I passed by and found there were people in one of the rooms. I walked closer and saw a little boy about my age and 2 adults. The little boy was tied up. I could more or less tell that it was a kidnapping. So I went back to find adults to help. However, when we came back to the factory, there was a fire. Smoke was coming out of the room where the little boy was held. The adults called the police and were busy putting out the fire. I directly went to that room. Fortunately, having fulfilled my desire, there was no fire in the room, and the two adults were nowhere to be seen. The little boy was tied up and crying loudly in fear. I climbed in through the window, and tied the ropes that bound him, and helped him climb out through the window. He cried and said those two people were kidnappers. After getting the money, they set the fire and were going to kill him. He also said his eyes hurt from the smoke and he couldn't open them. I told him he was saved and everything was okay. I handed him over to the adults, and then was about to go home for dinner. He suddenly grabbed me. "What's your name?" I answered without thinking, "Scarlet." He nodded and then stuffed something into my hand. "I'll remember. But I don't have anything valuable right now. This is my amulet. When I'm better, I'll come back to thank you." After that, I went home. And not long after, I was picked up by my parents and returned to City A. My parents were married, and I changed my surname back to my father's. Shu. Yes. I used to have my mother's surname. She. When I was a child, life in the big city was much more colorful than in the countryside. And I had long forgotten about the incident of saving that boy. When I met Silas in high school, I didn't connect him with the child I saved. It wasn't until after I got married in my previous life that I accidentally saw Silas's childhood diary at his parents' house, and found out that the person I saved back then was Silas. I was really surprised by such a coincidence. Coincidentally, the next day was our wedding anniversary, and he booked a table at a restaurant with a nice environment in the mountain villa. I wanted to tell him during the date. Unexpectedly, on the way there was a car accident. Silas deliberately caused the car accident, making me die in it to avenge his assistant, to avenge the person he thought was his savior. I'm actually quite curious why he thought Claire was his savior. Clearly, having fulfilled what I'd say, the amulet was with me. But I don't want to waste any more time on them. I wasted a lot of time in my previous life. In this life, I want to live for myself. 10. It was time to start school, and I went abroad. Gordon helped me find a house right next to his. He came to pick me up, helped me settle in, and then invited me to dinner. Next, he was going to show me around the area. "I'm really troubling you too much," I said politely. "It's not trouble at all. It's my honor to serve Scarlet." Gordon grinned. School started, and I began my new campus life. On the way home from school one day, my best friend told me a piece of gossip. Silas had run away from his wedding. My best friend told me that on the wedding day, Silas didn't show up at all. Only Claire was crying. And in the end, the wedding was cancelled again. Silas seems to have disappeared out of thin air. He doesn't answer his phone or reply to WeChat. Even the Silas family doesn't know where he went. I suddenly had a bad feeling. Sure enough, when I got to the door of my house, I saw a bearded man. It was Silas. He looked haggard, as if he hadn't slept for days. Silas saw me too. He came over and grabbed me. "Scarlet, why is my amulet with you?" I didn't say anything. Could it be you who saved me?" Silas asked eagerly for confirmation. I said expressionlessly, "Yes. I saved you. If it weren't for me, you would have been burned to death." But the person who saved me said her name was Claire. Silas was still confused. "Believe it or not, it's up to you. I'm just returning something to its rightful owner." I shook him off and was about to enter the house. Unexpectedly, having fulfilled my ancestor, Silas blocked my way. "You're the Shi-yun, right?" I tried to get around him, but he completely blocked the path. He continued, "I know you are. I felt something was wrong when I received the amulet. Claire said the scar on her I was from the burn when she saved me. But there was no fire in the room at that time. Only smoke. How could she have been burned?" I asked her about the amulet before, and she said she lost it by accident. I was so stupid to believe her nonsense. I frowned and said, "Get out of the way. What does all this have to do with me?" Silas said anxiously, "How can it have nothing to do with you? If I had known you were my savior, I wouldn't have been with her." and I wouldn't have separated from you. I sneered. It seems you still don't know what your problem is. Leaving aside whether you recognize the wrong savior or not, isn't it inappropriate to keep me hanging while getting involved with someone else? Even when you were about to marry me, you got someone else pregnant. What? Was it Claire who forced you? Silas pressed his lips tightly together and said nothing. Since he wouldn't let me go, I decided to leave first. Unexpectedly, he grabbed my hand again, pulled me back, and hugged me tightly. Scarlett. I was wrong. I recognized the wrong person. Please give me another chance. Okay? As he said this, he leaned in to kiss me. I struggled desperately but couldn't break free. As he was about to kiss me, a strong sense of nausea welled up in me. At this moment, a fist suddenly came flying over, hitting his face and making it turn to the side. I was also pulled out of Silas's embrace. Gordon pulled me behind him and said angrily, "If you harass Scarlett again, I won't mind punching you until your teeth are all over the ground." Silas covered his face but didn't look at Gordon. Instead, he looked at me. "Scarlett. Are you already with him? Did you choose him?" 11 I hadn't chosen anyone. But I really didn't want to have anything to do with Silas anymore. So I lied, yes. I'm with him. We plan to get married after graduation. Silas's eyes dimmed. And he gave a self-deprecating smile. So I have no chance. It wasn't a question but a statement. He turned around and left dejectedly. Only Gordon and I were left. Sorry. I used you as an excuse in a hurry. I felt a bit apologetic. But Gordon said seriously, I wish it were true. I looked at him and found that he was looking at me with a solemn expression. Is it possible? Gordon asked. I fell silent. Since I was reborn, I haven't focused on relationships. I've only been thinking about developing my studies and career. I wasn't unaware of Gordon's feelings for me. But I wasn't in the mood right now. And I couldn't deceive myself. I was trying to choose my words carefully. Just as I was about to speak, Gordon stopped me. Don't say anything. I know what you mean. He took a deep breath and then smiled again. Sorry. I was too abrupt. After that, I continued my study abroad life. My relationship with Gord and didn't seem to change much. After he knew my attitude, our interactions became even more natural. The next time I heard news about Silas, it was my best friend who told me. Silas and Claire had a car accident on the halfway up the mountain. The vehicle exploded. Claire died in the burning car. And Silas was lucky enough to escape and was sent to the hospital. Not long after Silas disappeared last time. He went back. But he wasn't quite normal. He was muttering something about being deceived. I heard that although Silas and Claire didn't hold the wedding, they had already got their marriage certificate. Silas wanted a divorce. But Claire didn't agree. Now, Silas has got what he wanted. Hey, having fulfilled my obsession. Scarlett. Do you think this car accident could have been deliberately caused by Silas? Listening to my best friend's gossip, some past memories flooded into my mind. The location and the way of the car accident were exactly the same. How could it not be deliberate? I hired someone to find Claire's family and asked them to report to the police. The police examined the car wreckage and indeed found that someone had tampered with it. Once there was a collision, the seat belt on the passenger side would get stuck and couldn't be opened. Silas was arrested. What awaited him would be the harshest legal sanctions. 12 After I finished my studies abroad, I returned to my country and entered my father's company. I started from the basics and gradually rose up, becoming my father's right-hand man. A few years passed, and Gordon also returned from studying abroad and entered the Gordon Corporation. I still kept in touch with him. Like before, we were friends. But after these years of getting along, we seemed to be more than just friends. However, neither of us had broken through this layer of ambiguity. On my birthday, he invited me to his house for dinner. I've made a big meal for you. It's guaranteed to suit your taste. And I've prepared a big gift for you. I joked with him. Don't tell me you're giving yourself to me. He said mysteriously. You'll know when you come. I went to his house. After having the dinner he prepared, I asked, Where's your gift? He smiled, so impatient. He turned around and went into the bedroom. Then he took out a document and placed it in front of me. Look. This is the gift. It was a contract stating that the real estate in the southern city would be provided to the Scarlett family for free and permanently. My eyes widened. Of course. We wanted this piece of real estate. But the price at which the Gordon family would sell it definitely wouldn't be low. So I hadn't even asked. Giving this to me as a gift? Isn't it too precious? Gordon smiled. Of course. There are conditions. I couldn't wait to ask. What are the conditions? The condition is that the Scarlett family and the Gordon family get married. That is, you and me. Gordon looked at me with bright eyes. He continued, they planned a new residential area in the southern city. Building a shopping mall there is definitely a profitable business. I don't think you'll refuse this condition. Right? You want to develop your career. And I can help you with that. Is it okay? I also smiled. Of course. It's okay. Then, let out a low sigh. I look forward to your guidance for the rest of my life. The end.